It's exciting, Jack. He's just given us a lot of prophecies pointing to the return of the Lord. But like I said in the beginning of the program, so many people say, we always have wars, always had famines. But did you notice that none of these meant anything until Israel became a nation? They had to become a nation before those signs meant anything, right, Jack?
Oh, right.
And so, 1948, they became a nation. Now, let's see how Israel has grown since they became a nation. Israel's population reaches 7,150,000. They continue to grow. And of that, about 80% are Jews and 20% Arabs and Druze. Let's go on. Here you see 6 days and 40 years celebrating the victory, of course, of 1967 when they had the war, when they could capture Jerusalem. Oh, how they wanted to capture Jerusalem, one of the biggest cities, of course, in Israel right now. Now, that's very significant, too, the capturing of Jerusalem, isn't it, Jack?
Oh, this is also exciting. Now, listen carefully. First of all, the Bible teaches that the Jews would come home from all the nations. And remember, they had not been there since 586 B.C. as a nation. So after 2,534 years, they came home and erected the six-pointed star of David and called themselves Israel. Ezekiel 36:24, I'll take you from among the Gentiles and gather you out of all countries and bring you into your own land. They're from 120 nations speaking 80 languages. Amos 9:15, now plant them in their own land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, saith the Lord God Yahweh. Now this is really exciting. The Jews believed in the six-day theory, and they based it on creation. He created the world in 6 days, Genesis 1:31, and rested on the seventh day, Genesis 2:2, and every day would be like 1,000 years, Psalm 90, verse 4. The Christians believe that from 2 Peter 3:8. So they said every time we have a day, we have another 1,000 years. And the final seventh day is when Mashiach comes to earth, and that's our Christ. But here, get this in your mind now, because 4 days consisted of Jewish theology and history, 4,000 years. The 3 days consisted of Christian theology and history. We're going to take the 3 days right now. Remember, I say again, Israel had not been a nation for 2,534 years. Now, what happened when they came home? Hosea 6:2. After 2 days, he will revive us. That's starting at the year 1 when Christ was born, and goes up to 1948, almost the end of the 2 days. This is Bible prophecy. Then they add, on the third day, he will raise us up from the dead, that we may live in his sight. The third day is already beginning. And that is the third day and the seventh day, of course. Third day for the Christian theology, 3 days, and 7 days for the Jewish and Christian theology combined. He raises them up when he returns in Daniel 12, verse 2, plus the tribulation saints of Revelation 20, verse 4. So that is here. And that's the blossoming of the fig tree of Matthew 24, verse 32. There, the fig tree. I didn't have time to prove it last week, just the numbers. Joel 1:7 talks about a war in past history when they stripped and barked Israel's fig tree. In Hosea 9, verse 10, he said, I saw your fathers as the first ripen in my fig tree. Now, that was great, but that wasn't the end of it. Rexella had that article there of 40 years and 6 days. That's when the Jews captured Jerusalem during the Six-Day War, June 5th through 10th. And as I said last week, Pope Pius XII said, this is the beginning of the countdown. Now, why? Because 70 weeks are confirmed or determined on thy people Israel and the Holy Land, Jerusalem. Now, what do the 70 weeks mean? In the Hebrew, it's Shabuah. In the Greek, it's Heptad. And a Shabuah is a 7-year period. And since there were 70 Shabuahs, 490 years, and 483 years had already passed to this point in history, which is 69 Shabuas. There's only one Shabua, 1 7-year period left, which we call the Great Tribulation Hour of Revelation 7, verse 14. And it's right after those 7 years that Christ returns and sets up his kingdom. Now, get this. In Matthew 1:17, there are 42 generations from Abraham until Christ. What? 2,160 years divided by 42 is 51.2. In Luke chapter 3, verses 23 to 38, there are 77 generations into 4,000 years from Adam to Christ, and that comes out to 51.2. And if you add the extra 6 months because the Six-Day War took place in June, you're almost at 52 years. You add 52 to 1967, and you come out pretty close to 2018, 2019. Subtract 7 years from that. We're talking about 2012. And remember what I said 2 weeks ago? The main calendar ends December 21st, 2012. It's all near, ladies and gentlemen. I don't believe in setting dates, Matthew 24:36, but Jesus said, when you shall see all these signs and they're here, then you'll know it's near, even at the door, Matthew 24:33. They're here, believe me.
I am so happy that he figured that all out. I'm not a mathematician, but I believe every single word he said because he used the Bible. He doesn't just think of something. He really used the Bible, proving to us that when Israel became a nation, all the signs fell in place. And that means that Jesus could come at any moment. We need to be ready.
But the countdown started with Jerusalem.
Yes, it started with
1967.
Jerusalem. All right. Well, we're